Okay, let's dive right into this. Have you ever actually stopped to think about the profound power dynamics hidden in our everyday visual culture? Seriously, every single time we scroll through our phones or glance at a billboard, we're participating in this massive, silent conversation. It's a conversation about who gets seen, how they get seen, and most importantly, who gets to do the looking. So today in this explainer, we are unpacking the fascinating and honestly often misunderstood world of body politics.
So I want to pose a core question to you right off the bat. Who actually holds the power to look? We usually think of looking as this totally neutral, innocent act, right? You open your eyes, you see the world. But looking is rarely neutral, it's an action. And throughout history, the ability to look, to capture an image, and to distribute that image, well, that's been heavily restricted and controlled. So it really makes you wonder, are we just passively consuming what's online, or are we actively participating in a historical system of visibility?
To really grasp this, let's define what we mean by body politics. It essentially refers to the practices, policies, and historical contexts that dictate exactly how bodies are represented, viewed, and controlled in visual culture. Think of images not just as, pretty pictures, but as a historical record. They document who had the institutional authority to observe and who was forced to be observed. It's entirely about how we see others, and just as importantly, how they are allowed to see us. Which brings us to Section 1, the history of visual marginalization. You see, the camera wasn't always the democratic, everyday tool we just carry around in our pockets. In its early days, photography was wielded as a potent instrument of institutional power. Sometimes it was literally a weapon of subjugation against vulnerable populations. Take the 1850s, for example. A Harvard scientist named Louis Agassiz commissioned daguerreotypes, which were early photographs, of enslaved people, including a man named Renti and his daughter Delia. These were taken entirely without their consent. The whole purpose was to try and visually prove these deeply flawed racist biological hierarchies. The camera was being used not to capture their humanity, but to objectify and classify them for a powerful audience.
And this isn't just ancient history either. It has direct modern consequences. As scholar Saidiya Hartman argues, the continued, non-consensual circulation of these vulnerable historical photos actually continues their violation and reinforces those original racist ideologies. It forces us to ask a really tough question. Do we have the right to look at these bodies in pain today? When does the act of looking actually become an act of violence itself?
When we look at how this has evolved over the decades, a pretty clear shift emerges. We start in the 1850s with strict institutional control, where marginalized people had absolutely no say in their depiction. Fast forward to the 1970s, and we start seeing artistic protests, people using visual mediums to fight back against this traditional gaze. And then, boom, the 2010s hit, ushering in the smartphone era, which entirely flips the script on who gets to hold the camera. And this brilliantly illustrates the massive paradigm shift we are living through right now. Historically, marginalized bodies were viewed without consent. They were objectified items to be studied by those in power. But today, thanks to accessible technology, there is a fierce movement toward subjectification. People are taking back the lens. They are demanding ownership of their own image and aggressively controlling their own narrative.
That leads us to Section 2, reclaiming the right to look.
So we're shifting from a heavy history of subjugation to a powerful modern framework where visibility is demanded, not just politely requested. Scholar Nicholas Mirzov coined this brilliant concept called the right to look. And it's not merely the physical act of viewing a picture. It's a mutual exchange. It's looking into someone else's eyes and recognizing their existence, their humanity, and their equality. Claiming this right to look and the right to be seen on your own terms is a foundational step in demanding political and social rights because, well, you simply can't have rights if society doesn't even acknowledge your presence. Section 3, Art as Visual Resistance.
So how exactly is this right being claimed today? Well, contemporary artists are actively disrupting traditional exploitative visual narratives and forcing us as viewers to look differently. Take artists like Mickalene Thomas, who creates these vibrant, powerful works that reclaim the Black female body from centuries of art historical exploitation and over-sexualization. Or Emma Sulkovitz, who famously carried a mattress around her university campus to visually protest sexual assault. Her performance art literally forced the public to look at the weight of trauma. Both of these artists use their own bodies and visual mediums to challenge the historical gaze and regain absolute control over their public stories.
Moving on to Section 4, the selfie revolution. Okay, let's step out of the art gallery and right into your pocket. We are entering the most ubiquitous modern application of body politics we have today, 24 billion. Let that number sink in for a second. That is the massive number of selfies uploaded to Google in a single year. And get this, that's data from back in 2015. Now, let's be honest, half of those were probably just us trying to find the good lighting. But while many dismiss selfies as pure narcissism or vanity, the sheer scale of this number points to a monumental global visual revolution. It is an absolute explosion of self-representation that we literally cannot ignore.
Now, whether you keep up with her or not, you really can't talk about the selfie without talking about Kim Kardashian. Objectively speaking, she puts on a masterclass in body politics. Historically, the female body has been heavily surveilled and consumed for the pleasure of others. But what Kardashian does through her endless social media feeds and publications is completely neutralize that traditional gaze. She becomes both the creator and the ultimate controller of her own image. She took what used to be passive exploitation and turned it into a massive empire of self-ownership.
Author Sarah Tasker sums this up perfectly, saying, "For the first time in human history, we have a democratic representation. We are no longer playing by the old rules. The simple, everyday act of taking a photo with your smartphone bypasses traditional media gatekeepers entirely. You no longer need a museum, a news agency, or some powerful institution to validate your existence or distribute your image to the world." So who actually benefits from this massive technological shift? Historically marginalized groups, women, people of color, people with disabilities. Basically anyone who was previously excluded from or misrepresented by traditional media. The selfie provides a direct, completely unfiltered, and highly democratic platform for those who were historically denied that basic right to look, or the right to be seen exactly as they truly are. So the crucial point here is this. Beyond any perceived vanity or social media obsession, the selfie is fundamentally a profound declaration. It is someone taking a camera, pointing it at themselves, and declaring to the world, "I am here, I exist." It's a literal reclamation of power in a visual culture that previously rendered them invisible or powerless. Which brings us to our final section, a democratic lens. We've traced the heavy, often dark historical context of visual control right up to the digital habits we practice every single day. So who holds the gaze today? I want you to really think about your own camera roll. How does it fit into this massive, ongoing historical shift? Every single time you frame a shot, choose a filter, and hit post, you are participating in body politics. So I want to leave you with this provocative thought. Next time you take a photo, whether it's a quick selfie, a portrait of a friend, or a snapshot of a stranger on the street, ask yourself, who is really controlling the narrative? Who gets to be seen? And who holds the power to look? Keep that in mind the next time you open your camera app. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning what you see.